Hey, this is Michael with BackToTheFutureTrading.com, and I want to thank you for being a part of this YouTube channel. Thank you for subscribing, for liking and commenting, helping us get found and sharing us to other traders all over the world. There's been a lot of chatter today about Amazon, among other things, including Nazis. So I figured we'd spend less time on the Nazis and more time on what CNBC has billed as the most important story at the top of their list, looking at Amazon. Now, part of the perception that many traders have is what happens in a stock like this is completely random. A pull of the slot machine handle, and depending on what happens and who does what and who says what and what report comes out, anything is possible. And so when we're focusing on these stocks, it's important that, at least for me, that I want you to understand that the banks have a plan in place. My personal belief, based off of what I'm about to show you, is that there are things about the stock that you can know before the thing happens. And nobody wants stock traders in particular to know these kinds of things. They want you to be in the dark and always be on the opposite side of the trade. You see, traders provide liquidity for the opposite side. Retail traders especially, the little guys, when you put hundreds of millions of shares together and hundreds of thousands of traders and millions of traders on the wrong side of a position, on the short or the long side, it's easier for the banks to do what they're about to do. So again, we're talking about Amazon. It's a product that I use, a website that I'm in all the time, but I want to show you today how what we know about Amazon isn't entirely true. So here we're looking at the stock, and I'm looking at it through the lens of a program that we developed for traders called Flux Orion. And the Flux Orion is part of our Celestial indicator series for stock traders. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on there, and try not to waste too much of your time this episode with inconsequential details. But some of you will ask me later, what was that product on your site or on your video, and I have to be able to tell you. Now, one of the things that you'll notice about the indicator is that there is something in the upper right hand corner of the screen. Okay, so up here at the top of the screen in the corner, you're going to see there's a date, and it says right now 2 days, 13 hours, 9 minutes and 53 seconds until a phase P event. And then just underneath that it says 14 days, 13 hours, 9 minutes and 43 seconds until a phase A, as an alpha event, occurs. And then just below that, you'll see 28 days, 13 hours, 9 minutes, 34 seconds until another phase P event. So what I want you to take away from that is that we know when the next dot is coming 28 days into the future, minimally, right? Because that's what we've got right now. As of right now, we know when the next phase P dot on the close of that candle is coming. Now, take a sip from the giant thing here. What should be blowing your mind right now is that every one of these other signals was a signal that we've known for at least 28 days, right? We knew what day that dot was coming. We knew what day that event was purported to arrive at. These dots never disappeared and reappeared. They didn't print 5 bars after that date. In 2 days and 13 hours from now, on the close of that bar, we're going to have another green bar, green arrow, green circle rather, underneath it. And then in 14 days, boop, 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 we're going to have another red dot on the close of that bar. And 150 years from now, when we look back 150 years in the past, those dots will still be there. Well, if you were a student of Amazon, what conclusions would you come to about the properties of a phase A event? That is to say, when you see one of these phase A events, over the course of 2016 to 2017, what has historically happened when we arrive at a phase A event, an alpha event? That's right. The market either goes sideways or it goes down. Okay? And then historically, what happens when we arrive at a phase P event? P as in Peter. That's right. Historically, there's been a push up at that time, right? And so I want you to see that the majority of the time, let's go ahead and put that. In 2017, the majority of the time, the market reacts predictably at the A and P events. Now, so far so good? Fan-damn-tastic. Let's take a look at what's been going on, because there are a few things we can do to pull out even more information from the cold, grubby hands of the market makers that cause these things to move. One of the first things I'm going to do just for now is I'm going to turn these lines off. And they're not helping us right now. They're not hurting us, but I want to get back to them in a second because they have a part to play in our analysis of Amazon, a company that I love and have used way too frequently. So here we go. We're going to blow these candles up so we can see them better. And here's some of the things that I want you to keep in mind since January, February of last year, right? So here's a whole year's worth of Amazon. And now I want to walk you through something that I refer to as a vacuum of power, or the narrative. At each of the red dots in our uptrend, and I've colored the chart to match Amazon's colors today, just in celebration of that. In each of these instances, you'll see that there's a puncture of the red dot. So right now, I've got my dot separation to $5 from the close, from the high or low of the candle. And what I'd like you to see here is just with that $5 arbitrary setting, you'll notice that there are moments where the dot is punctured, and even candles close above that dot. What that tells me, in between cycles, in between the red and the green cycle, when that candle is punctured, it means the banks are essentially standing on the sidelines and letting the price increase organically and naturally. It's the time or the opportunity that their algorithms and their program traders are paid, built to drive prices lower or keep prices stable, keep them from rising higher. It's a time where it's their right. In their eyes, it's their ability is maximized at those points to push price lower or stabilize it and keep it from going higher. It's where they take profits also. And you'll see in each of those cases that we've been puncturing that price, meaning the highs have been higher even though it was their time to drive prices lower. So it tells me that they're letting price go and they really don't care. They're hoping it will go higher. They have a plan for it to go higher. And it's okay to cross that boundary. Kind of like a kid who has a curfew, but the parents don't really enforce it. Okay? And then similarly, along the way, or as Jimi Hendrix would say, all along the watchtower, when it was time for price to go higher, and it was their right, it was the algorithm's time, it was the program trader's time to push price higher, you'll see that in each of these instances, and this should be especially interesting to you if you're trading short-term positions in Amazon or if you're putting on options like calls, I want you to see what happens at each of these predictive times. Now, note I'm giving you the next predictive times in the corner. So I'm not doing the bait and switch. I'll send you an ebook for free if you click on this link. I'm telling you when those dates are in the future. Now, when we got into June, May and June, something interesting started to happen in Amazon. This was right around the $1,000 mark. Bezos, richest man in the world, right? How many of you remember that? Bezos, richest man. And if you Googled that crap, all of a sudden, boom, 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 richest man, move over, Bill Gates. How long before Bezos overtakes Bill Gates? Bill Gates gone, not the richest gangster in the world. And all over the place, boom, boom, boom. We started hearing about how much money this guy had right around that time. The news is designed, it propagates to create disinformation and discord in the retail trading community. News is a weapon of mass destruction in that it causes you to not look at charts and to trust the fight or flight response that we all inherit from thousands of years of experience passed forward through the generations. So what I saw on this chart was this. When we got to the signal here in June 8th, do you notice, everybody, how it didn't cross the dot? It's the first time since January in June where the banks came in and enforced their right to drop prices lower. And look at the fall. It fell from basically 1,013 in one day to 924. It's really nearly a 100-point drop, right? And so this day is a very important day. And this price was a very important price. So I'm going to start making some notes here. And when we're finished, I'm going to save this template for NinjaTrader 7, which is free for download and has free end-of-day data. I'm going to leave my notations for you in a workspace, along with a note on how to import that workspace and use it in NinjaTrader. So if you're an Amazon trader, you're going to have my notes, and you'll be able to look here and see after the fact where my construction lines are. So for the most part, let's go ahead and put some dots here. If you're going to be using this and you don't have the software, I'm going to just go ahead and hand draw some of these dots, because you won't probably have the indicator when you open my workspace. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a dot everywhere that there's been a dot. And now where there's a red dot, I'm going to make red dots as well, okay? And this way you'll have a way to track what happened in the past at the places the software told us to look for moves. Now I'm just painting these in by hand real quick. The pink lines will sort of tell you where the dots were if they don't completely align, right? Okay, so there we go. Now, when we got to that price, I'm going to go ahead, and the closing price of that bar was 10.10.27. So let's go ahead and put a line at 10.10 and 27 cents. As close as I can get it. We'll pull it out. 10.10 and come on. Alright, so that's pretty close. And I'll see if I can move it here any further. I want it to be accurate. In a minute you'll see why it's accurate. 10.10 and there we go. Pretty close. Alright. So that price becomes an important price. Essentially, this is the price where the Amazon program traders at the banks came in and said, no more. So let's go ahead and put that notation there. This is the no more price. And it happened on this date, on the close of that candle. That's it, no more. Now look, when it came to the next buying pressure time, we know from a year's worth of signals that this is when the price usually goes higher. And so for some reason right here, they hit that no more price and it fell. In fact, if you look, it's the first green dot since last January where we've had a close under that green dot line. Interesting, right? What is it about that price? Let's go ahead and put a price next to it so we know what that is. That's the 10.10.27 price. Well, there's some more information here that we can pull out and that I want to give you so that you have an edge when it comes to trading against these banks. There are patterns that are kicking in here, and these patterns are important. And here's what I mean by that. If you go into my downloads folder, there's a set of books here that teach a bunch of different patterns. And one of the patterns that I teach is called the Canaveral pattern. And here's how a Canaveral pattern works. And I'll put a copy of this book here too. Historically, when we arrive at a buying pressure time, and the buying pressure time, the high and the low of that candle, resides inside the high and low of the brand new high, it's a very bearish signal. It's a predictive bearish signal. It's a place where you might put a call, or I'm sorry, a put. You might put a put in place. And so I want you to reference that signal, but now come over here and look. This candle was a brand new high. It was 17 versus 16. And can you see how this buying pressure candle fits inside, is engulfed by, fully eclipsed by that brand new high signal? Okay, so I'm gonna, knowing what these patterns are, I'm gonna come over here and put a green triangle above this candle and point down with it. And then I want you to look at another pattern, because the same thing happened in reverse over here on July 6th. We had a brand new low. It came down, it came down, it came down, it came down, it came down. The lowest low of that leg, and just to the right of it, this candle is fully engulfed by the high and low of this candle. And that's also a Canaveral, or a pattern 6 in the book that I'm going to give you here also in the description. So that one gets a green arrow, right? So let's go ahead and put our arrow pointing down right here. Whoops. We'll go ahead and draw that Canaveral pattern right there. And again, we'll draw that other Canaveral pattern right here. And we'll go ahead and we'll make those black just to symbolize what had happened. And we'll go ahead and write the number there just so you can go back in that book and see for yourself that it in fact qualified as a 7 and a 6. Alright, so what happens with Canaveral patterns, patterns 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 from the book, when you see those, they imply consolidation. And the banks will use a 6 and a 7 or a 4 and a 5 to define a trading range that they're going to use to chop retail traders to death. And I'm going to give you those levels here today, because Amazon and the banks and nobody really wants you to know what their plan is, but I want you to know what their plan is because I've studied this for so long. The close of this candle, the high, was 103.74. So I'm going to get here, and this one is pretty close, 03.72, and we'll put a marker here just to note where that level was. The bottom side of things, the close of that, was 965.14. So we're going to put a ray here at 965. Can I get it? Pretty close. 965.14. Whoops. Hard to draw those suckers that accurately. And I'll try one more time. There we go. So now we'll pull it up here, and I just want to get it as accurate as I can. 965.14. There we go. And I'll put that date in there for you, that time in there for you. Okay, these are important prices. I'm not telling you them just so you have something to draw on your screen. So we have the no more price. Then we have the going to define a range price, going to define a range price that occurs here. Okay? So far so good. Now, One of the reasons why I know Amazon is in a range is because of the following. The green dot, rather, pushes prices up to a high and it comes right back down into the range. Here's another clue. Ready? Remember how we talked about this dot here on June 23rd being penetrated, meaning it was time for the banks to buy, and they didn't. They didn't defend that time. Well, can you see what happened here? How they closed underneath the dot price of July 21st. Boom, 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 boom. So to me, this is evidence of a retail frenzy. The banks just let guys go nutso. And if you're a institutional trader, please comment below and let me know if I'm getting any of this right. You can be completely anonymous. You can PM me. I don't care. I would just be curious if anyone on the inside actually saw what I was doing and said, that's exactly what we did. This is also known as a climax move, because it came up and went all the way back down. These are the people who were late to the party and whose broker called them up and said, Sam, this is Frank. Yeah, you got to get in on this move, buddy. Yeah, Amazon's going crazy. And as soon as they got in, it dropped all the way back down into the range. Let's go ahead and define the range now. I'm just going to put a gray box right here, and that'll appear on your charts, your construction lines as well. Now, a really interesting thing happens when you have a 6 and a 7. When you have a range like this, the market will operate one range value above, and we'll make this one a little bit darker, and then one range value below that range. Okay, so I'm going to put that here. And inside of the range, there will be a magnet line. And the magnet line is going to be about 50% of that range right now. So this is just a standard Fibonacci study right here. I'm going to hit apply. I'm going to hit OK. And can you see where price has sort of found a home here at 987.70? There's a reason for that. They're building this infrastructure with these moves based on time. They're building this infrastructure with these moves based on time. Okay, so I'll just leave the prices over there. So the 987.70, that's another price, and we'll put a ray right there, but we'll make it dashed so you can see that it was the fib. Boom, hit OK, boom. So now we'll get rid of the crazy fib. So there's a lot of information here, right? That we got all from what? All from times. All this information are from bank times that we've been following predictably. So now, another signal is coming in 2 days. Well, what the heck is going on? Where are we going in 2 days, Thunder? What's the next move? One of the things we want to keep in mind is that this last red dot was preserved. There have been no penetrations of the last selling pressure signal. And in 2 days from now, unless we cross that line, this consolidation phase is still in effect. Okay? So I want you to see, I'm going to pull this over, and I want you to see where the bottom of that zone is. Okay? So I'm going to basically drag this over like that. And so now we're working in a consolidation zone with Amazon that has four hot levels right now. This level here at the top, this level here in the middle, this level here at the bottom middle, and this level here at the bottom. These are all layers of the enchilada where important stuff is predicted to happen. Okay? When the signal comes in 2 days, if you're near support anywhere here down at the 965 level or down at the 923 level. These are all areas where we can expect a short time pop. Okay, so that's about as far as I can take it with the information that I've got. The next phase P event comes in 2 days, and then it's 14 days till the next red day. So we're going to be watching to see in 2 days, does price move up and away? Is it any one of the 4, 5, 6, 7 patterns that are reversal patterns down, for example, or is it just going to continue to push up inside of this zone, trade the boundaries of that zone? Now, let me show you some other things that I know about Amazon just using one chart in time. Okay, so I'm going to scrunch this up here real quick. And I'm going to draw a line real quick. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, this next technique that I'm using is called a resonant angle analysis. And my customers have access to an indicator that'll do what I'm about to show you manually, automatically. And so what I've basically done here is I've found the resonant angle that Amazon trades at, and as evidenced by these black lines. And so one of the things that I do to find that resonant angle is I start connecting highs, and I start looking for slopes that are being followed religiously. So for example, right here, you'll notice that the market highs are kind of just ticking this channel. Gann, when he first wrote about this stuff kind of 100+ years ago, he told us that every market had a natural vibration frequency. And some of you argue with me over exactly what that means and how you implement it and use it as a method, but we all agree that every market is essentially a tuning fork. And that tuning fork has a unique note. And the note for Amazon right now is represented by these black lines. And I know that because once I find the primary angle, I can copy and paste those lines to where other highs and lows took place. So, for example, here on Amazon, you'll notice we had a high. Well, it tested that price here, it tested that price here, it tested the price here, and here. There were touches to the tick, and here as well. And it's the same angle that this angle was here. So that becomes a very interesting tool set for us now, because if we know this angle and we know where the highs and lows are coming in, I want you to watch what I can do now. And I'm going to leave these lines on the screen for you in the workspace that are provided to you. And I'm going to come up here and just tag the levels where a high has come in, okay, or where a low has come in. And what you'll see is as we start to look back, for example, there's a touch right here on April 13th at 884.78, and if we follow that line all the way back, can you see here how there was a touch? And you can see here there was a touch to the tick. So these levels are important, and when we find a level that touches to the tick, for example up here, the presumption is that we'll have those same tests and retests up here as well. So all I'm doing is I'm coming back and filling in the places where there have been kind of these touches, right? So I can copy and paste and move the lines up, and I just want to take care of all of these levels, like right here where you have 1, 2, 3, 4 touches, 5, 6 touches, 7 touches, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So this resonant angle here, there are actually 2 lines based on time, which I don't have enough time to get into with you in today's video. There are 2 lines right here that I'm going to leave for you to peruse. And there's another one down here now. Yep. Okay, so we're fleshing out that resonant angle grid to the right. And this is important because it gives you some boundaries now to understand, for example, here, that there are 2 points of confluence in Amazon. And similarly, there are 2 points of confluence down here, and then a third one very close right there. Okay, so we'll just bring the candles up on top of that craziness. There we go, boom. Alright, so we've got the resonant angles in place. We've got the time cycle markers in place. We've got the levels where we expect these things to occur in place. And we know that 2 days from now, a phase P event is coming. And that since January of last year, when we saw that phase P event kick in, there has been only one time since 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, only 1 out of the 10 times did not push the price of Amazon stock higher. Okay? Now, again, the dots didn't repaint, disappear, reappear, print 5 days later. We knew a month in advance when they were coming. So it's important to know that these dots finished higher than they started 90% of the time going back into December. We also know the boundaries of the range now, and we also know the places where those bounces might take place. So anywhere below us, any of these black lines below us at the time are to be considered as we get closer and closer to that boundary of time, support levels, and then vice versa. Any of these levels above us are to be considered what? That's right, resistance levels. So we're able to flesh out, whatever word you want to use, a tremendous amount of predictive information on what's possibly one of the most talked about stocks in the world right now. One of the companies that everybody is watching. And so we can do this with Whole Foods. We can do this with Tesla, Microsoft. I would love to teach you how to do this as a customer, but I need you to also click on the link in the description below to take our video demonstration, to join one of our webinars. Get involved. Come into the house. Join us. You're part of the family. And let's get you set up. Let's get you equipped to learn how to use these tools for yourself. As much as I like making fish for y'all, I would love to teach you how to catch these on your own with your own equipment and tackle. Thanks again for your time and consideration. I'm Michael with Back to the Future Trading. Be careful out there, and happy hunting, everyone.